project came your way, had you been familiar with this story and this case? Did you go into this with preconceived notions or feelings that you already had about it? Or was it just sort of a vague awareness?
I was aware of it. I didn't follow it obsessively, but I think that you would have had to really live under a rock to not have, heard of the case. And it was flashed across the news. And I remember seeing the photos of Michelle coming out of court and her eyebrows and the look of this girl. And she was very much, the media portrayed her in a very one-dimensional way. She was this manipulator and this kind of young Black widow. And, it was very one-sided. I think that also Conrad was very much portrayed in that way. We didn't get to know him as a person or his backstory, who he was as a young man. He was very much the victim in this, which he was. I mean, this story, we have to remember that it ended tragically and a life was lost here. But it was a very modern story. Like I was about, around their age when all this was going on. So you can't help but think about, well, those are young people they have phones just like me. And this is something that we're all trying to navigate here, of this like kind of false sense of reality that we face in the technological age of texting and social media, and that kind of instant gratification that you feel when you get a text, and how easy it is to say things online and to not kind of see the consequences of the hurt that your words can cause. And I think it riveted the nation for a reason. I mean, everyone formed an opinion on it, and I do think that I had a greater understanding. I mean, I do now after filming the show and kind of looking at the story from an unbiased way and working on it for so long. We really wanted to not sensationalize the story in any way, and show more to all of these characters, to both families, and to just not do what the media did, which was kind of blanket it in one way, and not show the facts or the details behind it all. So
even with this heavy subject matter, there are elements of fantasy throughout the series. And as a result, you have a song and dance number in this with Colton. So what was it like to shoot that? How did it feel to perform that song with him? And do you get tired of it when you have to do it as many times as I would imagine you had to do it?
Oh, this shoot was a very heavy shoot every day. It was very intense. And that was the one day where I could feel everyone felt very light. Like that was one very happy day. So I would have continued. We had a great time, and Colton's, so he's a singer, so he's like professional and like musical theater. So that was right in his lane. Like he was showing me the ropes, and we had a really great time. I do love how the show kind of balances the fantasy with reality and kind of the blurred lines there. Cause I do think Michelle is, my character, she kind of lives in between fantasy and reality a lot of the time. So they use that fantasy device to show kind of what's going on in her head, and how, the glee of it all, and how she kind of was casting herself as the star in these YA stories, which is just interesting human dissection, to think about.
How in comparison was it to do that glee monologue and the song to the mirror? I mean, it just broke my heart watching her do that, even though it's kind of weird and you also feel a little uncomfortable. It's still just heartbreaking to watch that.
Oh man. Yeah. That was the hardest scene I think I've ever done in my life right now, up until this point. It was, I watched that clip of Lea Michele so many times, countless times. I wrote on my legal pad, like every single mannerism that she did at the time that she did it. And when she got emotional, and when she held back, and when she would close her eyes, and every gesture was there. So I had to mimic that, because Michelle was it was very meta, because Michelle's mimicking grief, but she's feeling grief herself. And Lea Michele is, feeling grief for her real life boyfriend who passed away, but also acting on a show and mourning the character that he played on the show. So it's all, there's so much going on in that moment. And I do think to hold all that together, because that is the climax of the pilot. Like you have to, there's a moment where you're feeling for Michelle, but then I think you want the audience to wonder if it was all a dramatization, or, there's something twisted inside her that she is mimicking grief and trying to kind of put that on of the grieving widow in a way. So obviously we explore that more, but that is a taste for the start of the series. To, the audience starts to question a bit what her intentions are, which we don't have all the answers to necessarily, but and we still don't, but we are asking those questions. So
did you and Colton have conversations about, why you thought Michelle did what she did, or just their relationship and the influence she had over him, when these are two people that were rarely even together in the same room?
Yeah, I think that's what was so fascinating to us. We had access to all of the text messages. So reading those were very haunting and very difficult, but they were, you could see that these two people were so in a dark place. Like they were both reaching out to one another, kind of reaching out to the wrong people. Like you just wish that they had never met. And they didn't bring out the best sides of each other, unfortunately. Colton and I, we talked about it a bit. We both are like the same age and have, we have phones ourselves and can understand how you can get wrapped up in that, that like alternate universe that you can create whatever you want on your phones. I think for us, we also wanted to kind of destigmatize mental health and how that is affecting young people today. And especially with social media, like I can relate to bullying, and it's so easy for people to say things online. They wouldn't say it to your face. So I can understand that, but people have to know that like words hold weight, like the weapons on our show are phones. Like it's not a weapon, but it's something that was built to connect us, like somehow can be so disconnected,
So what's next for you? Are you going to shoot season 3 of The Great, or are you going to shoot something before that?
Yeah, I'm shooting the 3rd season. I leave pretty soon. But yeah, we're going back. So that'll be a big jump. I shot the 2nd season 2 weeks before Plainville. So I only had, that's 2 weeks in between, which was, it was like a shock to the system to do something so different, but I can't wait to go back. That show it's my happy place. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's delightfully crazy, and I love every second of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you. Yeah.